And now, ladies and gentlemen, to what is undoubtedly going to be a great, great moment at Unstoppable Africa, a conversation that bridges continents and generations. Leading it is one of the world's most influential voices for justice and climate action, Her Excellency Mia Mottley, Prime Minister of Barbados, and joining her are two unstoppable young leaders, Zaghi Berian, founder of the Society of Renewable Energy in Indonesia, and Christina Williams, Attorney General and activist in Jamaica. Please welcome them to the stage.
So, good afternoon, everyone. And I'm told you've had a wonderful day so far, and you can't look at the future without young people. And with me today, as you heard, is Christina Williams and my brother Zaghi from Indonesia. And I want us to have a quick conversation because very often you hear that young people feel outside of the loop, that no one is taking them on, that they're not getting an opportunity. And I know firsthand, because I started in public life at the age of 25, in fact 23, and that unless your generation claims the future and works to make the future a better place from today, you're going to be challenged with all kinds of problems as we're seeing. So Christina, let me start with you. How do you believe that young people can bring greater innovation working together across the global south to many of the crises that we're facing across our nations today? We know what's happening with mental health issues, we know what's happening with the economic difficulties, we know what's happening with conflict across the world. We know that the greatest issue will be saving the planet with the climate crisis. How do you believe young people can play a greater role collaborating across the global south?
Thank you, Prime Minister. I want to start by saying that there is a central context or a shared context in terms of Caribbean and Africa. And that is, we both have a colonial past. And even now, as we speak, we have countries that are still facing or are facing neocolonialism, exploitation, extraction, and we have that shared context. And so for us to combat that, we have to dive into our human resource and our youth resource. And that requires investment, not just financial investment, but an acknowledgement that young people are not just beneficiaries of programs and policies, but we're also co-creators of that. And what I've noticed sometimes is that we may have governments that are very passionate about young people, and other times they're phased out, another one returns, or another one comes in, and they're not as passionate. And so we want to get to a place where, through legislation, we ensure that young people must be at the table. Laws dictate that, and it does not require just political will or administrative will. And the other thing I would say is, when we have young people at the table, it should not be tokenistic. It should be a case of we're involved in decision making, and we can also actually see our ideas put into fruition.
And Zaghi, you have been, thank you, you have been working in Indonesia in the renewable energy space. You start small, but really for people to notice you, you have to scale up.
Yeah.
What has been your experience as a young person working in an area that the world for the last few years has said is essential for us to be able to bring sustainable development to people in terms of access to energy?
Yeah, thank you so much. So let me start with the two questions. Do we think that change only happen when the billion of dollars invested by the banks? And does the accelerations only happens if the clock is running out? So let me tell the story from Indonesia. We start 6 years ago, starting with the advocacy in the university level. And we need the public trust. To get the public trust, all of the members in our community at that time, only 10 members. And right now, we have 4,000 members in each year. So we start very, very small. We do a suitable projects for the rural area because I grew up in the area is really underserved. And I saw a lot of farmers really hard to get the water. And then from that problem, we create a small water projects, 3.3 kilowatt peaks. We do the crowdfunding. From that, within 3 years, we scale up into 120 locations. And right now, the governments see the real projects from the young people in Indonesia, and they want to build like the community base in the rural area within a very unique business model. So we do also the business model in the rural area because we see we got the chance to increase our national GDP by 1% if we utilize the natural resources. To utilize the natural resources, we need the energy. So the type of energy that we can bring into the remote area is the renewable energy. And we saw a lot of reports last year's, 90% of the new capacity it's come from the renewable energy. And young people do the just energy transition. We showcase to the world. So I think it's not the futures. It's happening right now.
Exactly.
So the young people, it's not talking about the futures. We showcase, we shift the market, we create a better policy for the government itself. So that's the experience from Indonesia, Prime Minister.
All right, thank you. Can I ask you, what are some of the obstacles, the major obstacles you've faced in being able to scale up?
So the major obstacle is the public trust because the institution is underestimate the young people. So we start very small so we can get a confidence level to do by ourselves. So when we got the public trust, we can get, easier way to speak with the funders, to speak with the other institution, the technology providers, to support us. Because without the public trust, we cannot, do some collaborative way. So in order to, to solve that problems, we create a better way to fund our projects like crowdfundings. Because a lot of online platforms from the youth, we can put the money and then we escalate the projects in that platform itself.
Okay. So the innovation of things like crowdfunding does make a big difference for you. Christina, you spoke about the need to codify in law a lot more of the things that we are doing so that young people can have certainty, predictability, transparency. What are some of the areas that you would like to see laws govern that are not now governed by those codes?
So,
because both of you are talking about the absence of trust.
Right.
And trust being a critical bridge that will allow greater participation both for young people, but it will also allow young people to work with each other across boundaries.
when I look at Africa, that has the youngest world population, and I look at the Caribbean with a lot of young people as well, and I think how we're not truly maximizing the use of that youth power, that youth force. A lot of our young people are involved in not just formal employment, but we have young people in the informal sector. And we're not finding a way to truly support and transition those young people. Young people in creative industries, the orange sector, blue, green, digital economies. How many of our countries provide flexible work environments for our young people that they can attend school and learn, so they're earning and learning at the same time? Some very basic ways of how we can support our young people, we don't have it in place. And we keep saying that, well, we want young people to be more involved, to be more engaged in entrepreneurship, but then your laws prevent us from doing that. So how do you make simpler business registration? How do I ensure that I have my birth certification, my tax registration? I know it may sound simple to the technocrats in the room, but those are the true things that prevent us from supporting and I would say boosting the economies in our countries. But if we had more laws on books that ensure that there's more smoother transition for us in business, education, employment, I think we'd see greater outcomes.
But separate from the laws, certainly a digital ID system for validating addresses and identity and a digital payment system will help level the playing field for you. But let's come back to the laws. You're a lawyer, so why aren't you drafting and providing the precedents and sharing across boundaries?
I love when the Prime Minister calls me out on stage. In fact, I have.
I'm calling you out? I
Yes.
don't think so.
In
I'm
fact,
encouraging you
Yes.
to lead.
In fact, I have. One of the things that I've helped to contribute is my national apprenticeship program in Jamaica. 40,000 young people have benefited from that to date. And we not just provide opportunities
Very
to
good.
train, but housing, ability to save, to earn, to invest. It is unique. And I'd love to see more countries adopt that model. Not just to provide employment and education, but our young people should be able to afford housing, should be able to invest, they should be able to have health insurance. We want to see true sustainable development of our young people, not just the basics that you tick off a box.
No, and I'd love to be able to see that model that you have with the national apprenticeship system, so others of us in CARICOM and in the Africa Union can see what is applicable there for us. How do you believe that in participating in events like this with Zagi, that the two of you can work with other young people to create an international movement that will allow you to claim ground? Zagi, you have just been appointed as an advisor to Secretary General of the UN, so you have a powerful position of voice. Christina, I met you last year here at the UN. Similarly, you have a platform for advocacy. I have a young lady who has also been appointed as an advisor, Ashley Lashley. And how do all of you work collaboratively to spark a global movement of young people? Because politicians listen to the masses in most countries where there are legitimate, fair elections. In those circumstances, how do you change the mindset of young people to help achieve these things in terms of a movement, a global movement?
Yeah. With this kind of event, myself try to find a collaborator potential in these rooms. And then we see a momentum to spark the collaborative way. For instance, Road to COP30. So my team and also in Amazon team, we create the capacity building for the young people that install the solar PV in the rural area. In Indonesia, we already have a model. In Indonesia also, we create a framework to create an agent of change within the rural community itself. So from that experience, we want to replicate in other countries, but we need the momentum, such as a big event like a COP, like a UNGA or something else. So that's why a young people here needs to really agile and need really, optimistic to get the momentum in other way. So the collaborative must happen in many, many places.
Thank you. Christina?
I would say it should not take a major event, an invitation to sit on a panel with the Prime Minister to interact with the African continent, interact with other people from the global south. And I would use opportunity, if I may, Prime Minister, to challenge those in the room that are sitting here. Connect us, please. As I said in my first answer, there are so many similarities between us, and there's so much room for us to really grow and boom together. So I would love to see an opportunity where after this event, I get an email that says, Christina, here are some other young people from Africa doing great things. If you can work together, I want to see some tangible outcomes and connections from this.
But let us agree. You ever heard of Shirley Chisholm?
Repeat that, please.
Shirley Chisholm.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Shirley Chisholm once said that if they're not inviting you to the table to a chair, bring
Create
your
my
own
own.
folding
Agreed.
chair. And I want to suggest that if you and Ziggy and Ashley and others can immediately start the connections yourself by creating a platform that is common across regions that allows young people to rise, first of all, to identify their challenges, because very often we think we know for them, and then two, to work collaboratively on solutions that you want to put to the governments and to the policymakers. Is that something that both of you can commit to publicly?
Yes, I can commit to it. And I will send an email to your team, Prime Minister, about how your office may help support us.
And we commit to doing that,
Yeah.
because quite frankly, without the young people taking the lead, as you said now, Ziggy, you're not going to be able to frame the future. If I had to ask you, what is the one thing you would like to see us be able to do beyond helping to create this platform, what would it be?
So I want to see all the people in the world has a better access for the electrification through the renewable energy. That's my biggest dream.
And you know, of course, the
Yeah.
statistics in Africa, where
Sure.
over 600 million people
Yeah.
are without electricity.
That's right.
And while the World Bank and others are working to help the first 300 million,
Sure.
what happens to the next 300?
Yeah.
Christina?
My general wish, well, in 2030, which is just
Around
5
the
years
corner.
from now, I'm not sure how many of you know this, but they say about 1 billion young people in the global south, which is Caribbean and Africa, will need jobs. And the World Bank estimates that only 420,000 jobs will be available.
420 million.
420 million jobs, thank you. 20 million jobs will be available. So we're looking at quite a bit of young people who will be disenfranchised. So I think my hope and what I've been working on through the National Apprenticeship Program is how can we ensure that young people are upskilled and equipped to create their own jobs for the future, so that we don't have those many millions of young people in the global south disenfranchised, and we can achieve true social inclusion.
And thank you for raising that. And one of the major issues that we're also finding with young people today relates to their ability to have elders accept that mental wellness is a critical part of the conversation that we must have today. What are your views on that as we wrap up? Because if people are not in the space to build and to collaborate, you're not going to succeed. So we have to address this issue as we go forward. Please.
Okay. In order for us to create, as you imply, Prime Minister, we have to be in a mental state to do that. And one of the things I've noticed is we're still having conversations about how we can normalize mental health. We're still not at the place where it is normalized. So my suggestion is, from the very basic level of how it is that we treat it in schools, because most of our young people spend most of their time in educational institutions, as well as the community centers and religious institutions as well. So if we can start the conversations there and the support, and then transition it in terms of how we provide mental well-being in our workplaces as well, I think we tend to shy from the fact that as young people, we need to have work-life balance. Productivity is important, but we need work-life balance for us to truly produce. I think that could really help in terms of creating mental wellness as a culture in our countries.
Thank you.
So
Ziggy?
from my perspective, there is some issue called by climate anxiety. So the climate anxiety happens because temperature are rising, and the young people, it's really fear about the climate change getting very, very soon. So I think in order to tackle all of that, we need to create some good publications in terms of the good practices about the climate actions, and also we need to create some optimistic message in the social media, because social media is really impact our mental health. So I think for the young people has to very, very wise to use the social media, because it's really important for our health. And then second, for the young people, we need to learn about the wisdom from the senior to be able move faster within a very strategic directions. That's all.
And to learn from the mistakes
Yes,
of your
yes,
seniors.
yes.
Exactly. Look, I want to thank you guys, and I want to remind all who are here that this conversation hopefully will spark more than just exciting your curiosity. And I am inviting both of you to act as we have agreed in creating that platform. Right now, we're working with Green Rising in order to be able to see how we can do more to sensitize and create projects at the level of young people in our country and across the world. And if you can add to that by the creation of this platform, then I think this afternoon, this Sunday afternoon, would have added value not just to this event, but to the condition of young people globally. That's a deal?
Deal.
Agreed.
Let's
Endorsed, committed.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.